Will Ahmed is the founder and CEO of Whoop, the wearable fitness device with over 125 million users worldwide. In 2021, the company was valued at $3.6 billion with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Eli Manning and Patrick Mahomes on board as investors. At the height of the COVID bubble on the PGA Tour, Nick Watney's Whoop device detected a spike in his respiratory rate and, despite his lack of symptoms, went to get tested and was found to be positive. It shot Whoop into the consciousness of professional golfers, and the PGA Tour subsequently procured 1,000 Whoop devices for every individual in the bubble. Whoop can now count on the likes of Rory McIlroy, Billy Horschel and Justin Thomas as regular users. A keen golfer since his college days, Will joined us ahead of his appearance at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship in October to talk about Whoop, the health benefits of golf, and share the insights he's gained on the sport via his work.
Will, Ahmed, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. For those who don't know who are watching, could you just give us a little bit of heads up on Whoop and your products that have likely seen it watching golf coverage on the wrists and on the biceps of some of the best players in the world. So can you just tell us what it's all about, what it does, and then we'll get stuck into a little bit of the health of golf after this.
Absolutely. So Whoop has designed a high-performance wearable that's really designed to measure everything about your health, your sleep, your recovery, your exercise, stress, fitness. It really gives you, I think, the most accurate deep dive on the human body. And the evolution of the company has been initially working with the world's best athletes to now working with a really broad range of consumers, people who are aspirational in all walks of life.
And so could you chat about your relationship, or the relationship between Whoop and tour players? I know there was a huge story in COVID-19 where it sort of diagnosed Nick Watney with the illness prior to him actually testing for it. What's your relationship like with the tour now and some of the tour players?
Well, we certainly have a huge percentage of professional golfers that wear Whoop. You'll notice it on their wrists while they're playing. Sometimes you'll even see it up on their bicep.
How come they're wearing it there?
Some people find it more comfortable there.
Okay.
So, like if you look carefully, you might see Scotty Scheffler wearing it up there, or Rory McIlroy wears it up there from time to time. Justin Thomas wears it up there. So, we're fortunate to obviously see these world-class golfers wearing the product. And I think a lot of the reason that the product's been so successful in golf, and particularly professional golf, is just all the stresses that go along with the game. And that's not just playing and exercising, that's also travel and jet lag, the difficulties of all the grind outside of just playing, like media and interviews and these sorts of things. And so I think for a lot of guys, Whoop has been a tool to help them understand recovery above everything else.
And has that been the sort of feedback from them for you? Like, what have you been able to learn from these players coming back to you about your product and about how they use it? How are they using it most effectively for their lives and their lifestyle?
Well, it's been fascinating to hear how big it's been just around lifestyle factors. So a lot of professional golfers will have changed their sleep habits because of Whoop. Cutting back on alcohol is a huge theme from Whoop, because when you wear Whoop and you drink alcohol, you start to see just the negative effects of even a couple drinks. I remember Rory McIlroy telling me years ago that he was a wine collector. And then unfortunately, because of Whoop, he's now not drinking his wine because he sees that it makes his recovery low. But those are the types of little, I think, nuances that you see in the product and in the data, where you might otherwise say, a few drinks, I feel fine today. But when you see it in the data and you see your body's run down, it kind of it gets to you.
And what was the catalyst for that product becoming so popular on tour and with players? Is there a specific moment you can remember that sort of allowed Whoop to explode? I'm talking golf here specifically. I know you've worked with athletes across sport. But was there a moment in golf that made the product go huge within the tour players?
I think a lot of top pro golfers were wearing it in like 2018, 19. So there was Rory McIlroy, there was Justin Thomas, there was a bunch of top players, and then COVID hit, and Nick Watney realized that he had COVID from wearing the product because he had tested negative for a COVID test, but his Whoop said he had COVID. And so next thing you know, the PGA Tour reached out to us because they were the first. If you think back in the summer of 2020, PGA Tour was really the first sport to come back. And so Jay Monahan called me and essentially procured 1,000 Whoop straps, not just for the players, but for all the caddies, the media members. and Whoop became a, part of the bubble, so to
Yeah.
speak, of helping professional golf come back. And so that was kind of an amazing moment for Whoop, and obviously that, put Whoop on all the players at the time, and I think created a lot of exposure.
So since that, and since the sort of popularity of it, on these brilliant golfers, what have you learned about them and how they perform their best and what they're doing as elite athletes to perform at the highest level week in, week out?
It's interesting. A lot of what I hear relates to rest and recovery.
Okay.
I think professional golfers spend a lot of time on their feet, spend a lot of time hitting balls, spend a lot of time working out, spend a lot of time playing holes. Obviously, the psychological stress of playing a tournament is actually really high. And so Whoop, I think, gives them permission to focus on rest. Really thinking about the wind down in the evening, taking a bath, taking a long shower, maybe meditating or breath work, finding the right supplements to help with that if needed. It's a tool that, again, focuses on recovery above a lot of other products. And that score, 0 to 100% red, yellow, green, I think gives people a guiding factor. The other thing, of course, is just travel. Like, these guys really travel a lot. They're in and out of different time zones. It's a total grind. And Whoop helps them, I think, figure out what are little things I can do to improve my jet lag or to improve how I handle differences in time zones. And again, that could be hydration, that could be nutrition, but there's just a lot of things going on outside of when they're actually playing golf that affect their performance.
And I think there's a lot of that we don't, as viewers, acknowledge, do we? We watch them Thursday to Sunday, they rock up and play an event. You don't think about all what's going on in between. So would you say that whether Whoop was a catalyst for this or perhaps golfers were trending in this direction anyway, they've become more health focused, let's say in the last 20 years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can tell that just from watching a broadcast. The guys look so much fitter today than they were 20 years ago. But I think that the average fan, both for golf, but really all of professional sports, underestimates just how much time goes into being a professional golfer. It's so much work.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not playing, you're recovering, you're focused on your nutrition, you're drinking water, you're thinking about performance even though you're not performing. And there's a cost that comes with that. It's a big sacrifice, I think, to be a professional athlete. It's not just when you see the athlete, playing for 4 hours.
And it sounds like McIlroy's had to sacrifice a bit of red wine drinking every now and again. Maybe he can do that later in his life. So for the average golfer then, I think, myself included, maybe you want to get up early, get to the range, grind before you play golf to play your best. However, having listened to a lot of your podcasts and other interviews you've done, sleep is really important. For the average golfer watching this, does the preparation for a good round the next day actually start the night before?
I think absolutely. I mean, look, let's talk about how you can improve your sleep quickly.
Sure.
So, generally speaking, you want to try to go to bed and wake up at the same time. That's called sleep consistency. That naturally improves your physiology. You also really want to be in a good bedroom environment. So ideally, it's a cold room, good air quality, really dark, not a lot of noise. And if you're on a golf trip with your buddies, you might want to pack like a sleep mask or earplugs because that often when you're staying in a hotel, there's all these little lights and stuff in the room. Those can affect your sleep. You want to try to be really well hydrated. So drinking as much water, say 3-4 hours before bed, but try not to drink water an hour before bed because that might wake you up.
Interesting.
You want to try to avoid eating within 3 hours of bedtime. Just the data shows that if you eat within 3 hours of bedtime, that will actually disrupt your sleep. Caffeine's an interesting one. It's highly personal. But for the most part, if you drink caffeine after 2 p.m., that's going to be affecting your sleep in the evening.
That far afterwards?
Yes.
That's not good for me. I like my coffee. So.
Well, this is the amazing thing about the human body. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many things you do over the course of a day that could then affect your sleep that night. It's been shown that just getting morning sunlight, so waking up in the morning and seeing the sun in the morning, is going to improve your sleep that night. That some 15 hours later, right? So it's just, it's fascinating just how the human body works. Meditating in the morning can affect your sleep later that night. In general, breath work and mindfulness, meditation, those things generally all help with sleep.
So sleep's really important then, and I think we may have just answered this, but what would be one health tip if you could give someone watching now one little nugget to go away with that would help their health, help their body, and help them play better golf as a circumstance?
Well, this isn't popular feedback, but dialing back alcohol consumption, that's one of the biggest things that's going to crush your recovery score on Whoop. But, at the end of the day, I would say you can only really manage what you measure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to understand your health, if you want to dial things in, just start by measuring it. And obviously I have a bias for Whoop. And if you wear Whoop, you're going to start to figure out, okay, well, what is my baseline sleep? What is my resting heart rate? How much exercise am I getting, or how active am I? And you'll all of a sudden just see these numbers, and you'll start to get some feedback on it from Whoop. And then from there, you can start to manage it. You can start to tweak it.
Interesting.
And sometimes it's only, small little things that you just change or you become a little more aware of. And gosh, you end up feeling so much better a few months later.
Interesting. So maybe, like you said, getting some data down, seeing which one doesn't look great, and picking the one that might just help your health a little bit better, and then improve your golf as a circumstance.
And by the way, a lot of this stuff's personal. Some people metabolize caffeine very quickly. They could have caffeine at 4 p.m. It won't affect their sleep. Some people, if they drink caffeine at 11 a.m., it's going to affect their sleep. Some people, magnesium, melatonin, supplements like that can really improve their sleep. Some people, it hurts, right? So everyone's also got some personal behaviors that help them that don't help others. And that goes back to being able to manage what you measure.
Really interesting stuff, I think. And then there are some nuggets there, I think, for everyone. Back to golf then. You play a lot yourself. I followed you out here on the old course for the front nine yesterday, playing with Gareth Bale. You held your own there. It's good stuff. Enjoyed watching it. Aside from the obvious with golf, the walking, the sort of mental health benefits that come with playing the game, what have you learned otherwise that golf can bring to your health, to your body, to your mind, from playing it yourself, but also from the sort of data that you've been able to collect?
Well, I grew up playing golf. I played a lot from the ages of say 10 to 18. And I got my handicap at one point down to a 0.
Yeah.
And then, with work and with building a company, it slowly rose up from there. I think today I'm around a 3 or a 4 handicap. And I will say one of the things I enjoy most about playing golf is that feeling of you need to hit a shot and then you need to commit it to a shot. Right, and I think it's a big theme, not just in a sport, but in life, which is you come up with a plan and then you got to execute the plan. And as well as I do, when you're standing over the ball and you're changing the plan, you're screwed, right? And so there's this feeling of like, what am I trying to do? Okay, let's do it. And I think I love about golf, and it's pretty unique to golf because you have so much time to think about what you want to do, right? You can sit there and plot. I grew up playing a lot of squash. I played squash while I was at Harvard. And that's a sport where you're really reacting, right? You're reacting in real time. So many sports you're like on kind of, under this pressure cooker. Golf feels like you're under a pressure cooker, but you actually have some time to think about what you're doing and plot your way around. It's a much more strategic game, I think, than it gets credit for. And it's a very mental game because you have time to think. So I love that about it. I love the camaraderie of getting to meet people playing golf. It's unbelievable, even just from a business standpoint, how many people I've met that have ended up being, helpful to me in growing as an entrepreneur, growing a technology business. It's, I think, the one sport that all athletes play, which is a cool concept.
It is, isn't it? And
right?
I think this week at the Dunhill Links is a kind of perfect example of that. We've got cricketers, entrepreneurs, tennis, rowers. They're all here and they're all pretty good.
Yeah. Yesterday I played with Gareth Bale. I wasn't going to call him up to go play football, but the fact that we can both go play the old course and stand over our own ball, that's pretty great.
And how is your game trending into this week? So you're playing the old course, you'll play Carnoustie, you'll play Kingsbarns.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Are you excited?
I'm super excited.
What opportunity.
This is one of my favorite weeks of the year. The Alfred Dunhill is a spectacular event. It's incredible people. Everyone shows up here to have a good time. It's very low ego, and very successful people, very talented golfers. Everyone comes together, and I think there's just a wonderful camaraderie. And the courses are three of the best courses in the world. The conditions are very challenging. And, it's a real test. So I look forward to it every year. I think it's spectacular.
Right, last two for me then. What do you want your recovery score to be in the morning, so you're fresh, firing, and what's your heart rate going to be on the first tee, do you reckon?
Well, hopefully my recovery is 99%,
Fingers
which means
crossed.
I'm dialed, which would be a good sign for someone maybe a little jet lagged. And, it's like you don't want to have any nerves because in a way nerves make you a little sharper. So if my heart rate's around 100 beats per minute, I think that would be good. My resting heart rate's about 45 beats per minute. If my heart rate's at 130 or 140, that's probably a sign I'm freaking
That's
out
working
a little
hard.
bit. Yeah, so that won't be good. But we actually did a golf integration with a bunch of players during the Ryder Cup.
Okay.
And so we would show people's heart rates
remember seeing
on
that
the
on the
first
coverage.
tee. And they got amped up. I mean, I remember Rory's heart rate was like 130 beats per minute on the first tee.
That's like doing sort of
Yeah.
strenuous exercise.
And he's, one of the best to ever do it. So it just shows that moment is a big moment for pros and amateurs alike.
And speaking of that, actually, what's the future for Whoop within the game? We've seen it on TV coverage. What are you working toward to perhaps enlighten viewers at home to how these athletes are performing? Is there anything in the works?
Yeah, we're going to continue to do these data stories and integrations where we show, maybe the stress of the last hole in a playoff, or show someone's heart rate in real time. Just understanding like the strain of the overall activity is interesting. The strain of a 4 or 5 hour golf round might be the same as a 45-minute CrossFit workout, depending on how stressful it was. So for me, I get the highest strain scores from playing golf are at this tournament.
I bet they are.
Because the conditions are tough and it's intense. Like, you want to play well, and all of it just makes for a terrific event.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Will, appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you very much. Good luck this week. We'll be following closely.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.